PMS, perimenopause, menopause, even midlife crises, like those are all things that are like a thing. And I'm 52 and I've had menopause. Like it's a cold. I've had menopause. I've been through menopause since I'm 45 and I'm 52. I did get my cycle starting at 9. I was very early, 9. It doesn't mean that you're going to finish your cycle earlier. Just remember that oh, and by the way, if you're a guy and you're like, oh God, this is not interesting. You might want to hold on because you also have to deal with these people in your life. So if you have a mom or a sister or a wife or anything like that, a coworker, if you're around born females, you're going to want to be like, oh my God, how do I cope with this? Because sometimes you can just distance from us, seriously, but I'll get there in a minute. But I was just saying, don't leave me yet, just so you can kind of understand it. And so, you're born with for women, you're born with only so many eggs in your ovaries. It's not like you're going to gain more. Like whatever you have. And then when you're done, you're done. So it doesn't mean if you start early, you're going to finish early. It doesn't mean if you start late, you're going to finish late. That's not how the body works. Right. And so luckily I'm in menopause, right? I guess it's postmenopause now. And I go, I think in September because now you don't do GYN appointments every year. I think it's almost time. I'll definitely go every year for my mammogram. And I'll have her run my hormones, right? Like you want to see what your hormones are because, for women especially, as you get to be a certain age, you get a little smushy, you get a little fluffy in areas, right? You become a little ball of fluff. And that's why you see me in the gym. It has nothing to do with the fluff. The fluff is secondary. You never go to the gym to lose weight. Never. No, we're not doing that game. But as you get older and when you're in this menopause, and even if you're not in menopause, if you're 25, if you're 24 and you're going through PMS, I can tell you I had PMDD, which is like wretched cycles. Like I can't even, not only were my moods everywhere, my back was hurt. Oh my God. The week before my cycle, my PMS was raging. Like I was all over the page. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'll get on birth control pills. Like my daughter's on birth control pills. It doesn't affect her like it does me. But she has PMDD. She got on the birth control pills. She feels so much better because it's a hormone regulation, right? My hormones were so dysregulated. And so I tried to get on a birth control pill. Now, mind you, it was back in the day. So there was options, but there wasn't as many options as we have today. So don't let this discourage you. I don't want you to be like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. No. I'm talking about when I was a child, back in my day, in the 80s, and a lot has changed since the 70s and 80s and 90s, right? And so don't take what I'm saying and be like, oh my God, I'm afraid of it. But like I would take the pill and I would have cycles for 3 weeks. 3 weeks. We tried different ones. It just wasn't for me. So we're like, okay, well, and they're like, all right, well, luckily I did have like my antidepressants, which did help. Honestly, they help my mood a lot. But it wasn't a lot of education like it is. And you have to speak up on it. You have got to speak up on it. Say, listen, because my postpartum, and I'll do a whole different video on that. Matter of fact, I'll do a video on that next after this, because I feel like that should come up. So you'll get this one on the next cycle, on the next one. But was so wretchedly bad because I gave up my first daughter because of my PMS, right? PMS, postmenopause. Okay, that's my ADHD. Do you see how ADHD works? You're not going crazy. Your brain is trying to do. I said I'm going to talk about this video and then that video, and I put them all together. That's ADHD at its finest, but it's still my superpower. But when I had, do you hear me? Do you hear what's happening here? It's because now I have that in my head. Postpartum is the word I'm seeking. I got it now. I just had to sit there and go, and I won't apologize for it, because when my brain gets hyper-focused, that's just how life works. Some of you can associate with it, and some of you are like, it's annoying. Can't do anything about it. Like, it's just me. But yeah, and that's how I roll. But it was so bad. And that all has to do with hormones, and it all has to do with how it was in my body. And I just didn't have that support. And so you have to be your biggest advocate. And so the best way to do that is get your hormones tested. So when I was going through menopause, right? And remember, I was always told menopause, to know that you're officially in menopause, is 12 months and a day. That's what they say. I just stick with it. I think it's 12 months, but people say 12 months and a day. Let's go with it. And so, when you're going through perimenopause, which is like a pregame, let's pregame this menopause, baby. So like, hey girls, like, I know that PMS and having your cycle and all that stuff wasn't quite enough for you. So we're going to pregame for the big show. Okay. And we're going to do this for like 10 years. 7 to 10 years. That's right. 7 to 10 years. And my perimenopause was there. Like, now my cycles were somewhat normalish, as normal as I guess my cycles could be. Because I could kind of knew, like my kids were delivered on their due dates, or like my daughter was a day apart. Like, I mean, my body is really in sync. And so, you have to remember that you're going to go through this. So you're not going crazy. Your brain fog's not going, it's not that you have also early onset Alzheimer's. It's not that we all feel that way, by the way. We all feel that way. We're like, oh my God, what's wrong with our cognition? And so that's why the hormones come into play. And you have to understand what your hormones are. But let me tell you, as you're going through your I don't care how old you are. I don't care if you're a teenager. I don't care if you're 70. As a female, you're going to be able to understand what exactly is going on when you really educate yourself on it, and be okay with taking the medicine, be okay with taking the replacements, be okay with taking the vitamins, be okay with taking those things, but you got to understand it. Now, if you're living with somebody, guys, I'm cluing you in real quick. If you are living with somebody who's going through menopause, let me tell you what is going to happen. We're going to get very hot, and then we're going to get very cold, and then we're going to get very hot, and then we're going to get cold. And that could happen within 15 minutes apart. 3 times. Oh my God, I'm so hot. Oh my God, I'm so cold. When I was pregnant with Sienna, I froze everybody in the house out. It had to be like 60 degrees. I literally had the best thing, and maybe I'll show you guys in another video. I have the best thing on my bed that I got from Sleep Number. You don't have to have a Sleep Number bed, but I got mine from Sleep Number. I'm sure there's other ones. And you plug it in. It was like, I think they go for like $8.50 now. I'm telling you, I promise you. I paid for it. Nobody's giving me anything. I paid for it. If you get hot, if you are a hot sleeper, and it is proven and shown that you have to sleep in a cold room, your sleep is imperative. Oh my God. It is imperative for so many things, but especially your hormones. No TV, no distractions, no lights. I mean, you can listen to like sounds and noises, no lights, even if dark curtains, cold rooms, and on my bed. And it can go heat too, which does help if you're not feeling well or whatever in your back. But it's cold, and you turn it on, and it's like cool air it's not annoying. I promise. It's amazing. It blows up at you, and it just makes it better. And you can have it on your side of the bed. So the person that you're sleeping with doesn't have to deal with you, because we're going through it. They don't have to, right? So they shouldn't have to be like hot, cold, hot, cold, hot, cold. So you have to do things to regulate it out. Now, if you're dealing with somebody like that, and you're living with somebody who's going through menopause, or they have severe PMS, you're not going to understand it, right? And it is going to be frustrating for you. And the females who are going through that, let them be mad at you if they want. Seriously, because you still have to protect yourself so you can protect your relationship, so you're not spiraling out of control. When you see someone is heightened, what I was doing, right, which was very, very helpful, is I tell everybody, okay, listen, my PMS is ramping up because I can feel it, right? We can feel it. And everybody, they didn't have to walk on eggshells. I do not ever believe ever in anybody walking on eggshells. Squish them. Do not walk on them. But I would say, hey, you know what? I'm going to be a little distanced, or hey, I'm going to be a little short. This is the week that if I ask you to do something, please. And so we worked together. So what you could do is, instead of like being pick, right, is just go, hey, I know. And remember, everybody's gingerly. So you could say, oh, is this hair? What do you mean? Like, everybody, believe me, we can snap. There's a whole show on it, Snapped. And so what I want you to do is, I want you to say, hey, help me understand, if you understand, help me understand like what kind of like your cycle looks like, right? Listen, don't coddle. Do not coddle. You do not have to walk on eggshells for them. So if that means you have to say, hey, you know what? I'm going to go for a ride, or hey, I'm going to go out into the man cave, or I'm going to go do that. Let them deal with it. Explain to them what you're doing, because this is where that art of communication comes in at. And I promise you, it'll be so much better. Now for the ladies, I promise you, if you get this thing, I will show it to you. I will put it in another video. it's worth every penny and it helps so much. So some beautiful things that you can do, right, is to start to understand what your hormones are, what your estrogen does, what your progesterone does, what testosterone does, what it looks like when it starts to deplete. How can you work on it? What does that look like? And maybe I will do a whole podcast on that. But I will tell you, getting in the gym is going to be helpful for you. You're not doing it to lose weight. That will be a byproduct. You want to up your protein intake. Oh, I did nutrition. So you want to up, your protein, your fiber's good. Your sugars are a lot, right? Like sugar in general. But I also don't believe in cutting everything out. I don't believe in cutting out carbs. I don't believe in cutting out your sugar. I mean, limit them. Don't believe in cutting out all alcohol unless you have a problem with it or if that's what you choose. But moderation. But you want to do the things that are best for your body, and water is going to be your jam. And And so if you guys want, let me know in the comments. And if you want me to go into this on like a podcast, or if you want me to do another video on this or even a series on it, let me know. I would love to know. And guys, seriously, protect your peace. It's okay if they get a little upset with you, honestly. Okay. And ladies, you're going to have to know, not everybody has to deal with you because you're on edge. And you might want to consider doing what I did with my family and says, hey, you know what? I'm going to be a little edgy. This is that time. Everybody in the house, everybody knew what was going on. And I also knew that means they might have to distance too. And it really helped. So communicate, no expectations, and be honest. So, but you know what, guys? I promise you, as a person who's in menopause, postmenopause, it's amazing. It is amazing. I love it. I love it.